Tanya had always believed in hard work and perseverance. After graduating from college with honors, she secured a position at a prestigious corporate office in downtown Manhattan. The company was known for its competitive environment and elite clientele. Tanya, who was smart, respectful, and deeply committed to her job, quickly became one of the most reliable employees in her department. But beneath the surface of the polished office floors and designer suits, there was an undercurrent of discrimination and jealousy that Tanya could never quite ignore. From the beginning, a few of her co-workers seemed to have a problem with her presence. They made snide remarks about how she got the job, whispered behind her back, and always seemed surprised when she performed well. Tanya tried to brush it off, believing that professionalism would eventually change their attitudes. She was there to do her job, not to get involved in petty workplace drama. But the tension continued to build, especially with one particular manager, Lisa, who never missed an opportunity to belittle Tanya during meetings or act dismissively when she contributed ideas. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, the office decided to have a casual team lunch in the break room. Tanya, despite the awkward environment, joined in, hoping it might help improve the strained dynamic. As she sat quietly at the table eating her salad, a heated conversation started among a few team members, most of whom ignored her. Then out of nowhere, one of them, Jake, known for his loud personality and careless jokes, turned toward Tanya with a smirk. "Why are you always so quiet? Lighten up. You act like you're better than everyone," he said loudly, drawing attention. Before Tanya could respond, Jake picked up a cold can of Coke from the table, cracked it open and, without warning, threw the soda directly at her. It splashed all over her white blouse and skirt. The room fell silent for a second before someone let out a nervous laugh. Lisa, the manager, stood watching with her arms crossed, doing nothing. Tanya sat there soaked and stunned, her hands trembling. She felt the sting of humiliation more than the chill of the soda. No one stepped forward to defend her. Not one person offered her a tissue. She got up slowly, holding back tears, and left the room without saying a word. As she cleaned herself in the restroom, her mind raced. Tanya had always believed in solving things through the right channels, but this time something inside her cracked. She pulled out her phone and sent a brief message. "They threw Coke on me at work. I'm okay, but I've had enough." That message went to her husband, Carter Williams, a man she rarely spoke about at work. To them, she was just Tanya from accounting. But in reality, she was married to one of the most powerful black entrepreneurs in the United States. Carter was a billionaire tech mogul, the founder of one of the country's largest cloud security firms, and a man known for his sharp business mind and zero tolerance for disrespect. Tanya didn't expect him to show up. She just needed to tell someone who cared, but Carter wasn't the kind of man to stay silent when someone hurt the woman he loved. What happened next would shake the entire company to its core. Carter Williams was in a board meeting when he saw the message from Tanya. At first glance, it seemed short and simple, but Carter knew his wife. He knew her strength, her patience, and how much she avoided conflict. For her to send a message like that, especially in the middle of a workday, meant something serious had happened. Without hesitation, he stood up, apologized to the board, and walked out. His team knew better than to ask questions when Carter moved with that kind of urgency. Within the hour, a black SUV pulled up in front of the sleek glass building where Tanya worked. Carter stepped out, dressed in a custom suit, his expression unreadable. He wasn't just a man in love. He was a man with power, influence, and the ability to change lives with a single decision. As he entered the building, heads turned. The receptionist stuttered a greeting, unsure of how to handle his sudden arrival. Carter didn't wait for permission. He walked straight to the top floor, where the HR office and executive suite were located. "Get me the department head. Now," he said firmly, standing tall in the middle of the hallway. Within minutes, executives scrambled to respond. Carter's reputation wasn't just based on his wealth, it was his no-nonsense approach to leadership. He was a fair man, but never passive. Word spread quickly that Carter Williams was in the building, and panic rippled through the staff. Some employees peeked from their offices, unsure of what was going on. Tanya, sitting at her desk, still wearing a jacket over her stained blouse, looked up in disbelief as her husband walked in. He didn't say anything at first. He simply reached for her hand, looked her in the eyes and whispered, "I'm here now." Then, turning to the HR director and the department manager who had just arrived, he spoke loud enough for everyone in the hallway to hear. "I want a meeting right now. Everyone who was in that break room, every manager who stood by and did nothing, and any supervisor who has ignored complaints before, get them in the conference room. 5 minutes." No one dared argue. Inside the glass-walled conference room, the air was thick with anxiety. Tanya sat next to her husband, silent but composed. Carter stood at the head of the table, looking each person in the eye before speaking. "Let me make one thing clear," he began, his voice calm but full of weight. "You don't get to humiliate people and keep your jobs. You don't get to laugh while someone is degraded. And you don't get to ignore cruelty just because it makes you uncomfortable to speak up." He then turned to Lisa, the manager who had watched it all happen. "As a leader, you had the power to stop it. You chose not to. That's failure." One by one, Carter called out names. Jake, who had thrown the coke, Lisa, who had enabled the culture, others who stood by and said nothing. He handed a folder to the HR director with a list of names and said, "These people are no longer employed here. Their access ends today. Legal will handle the rest." Stunned silence followed. Some employees tried to protest, but Carter raised his hand. "You thought she was just another employee. You treated her like she didn't matter. But that woman is my wife. And more importantly, she's a human being who deserved respect, whether I was in her life or not." As security began escorting people out, Tanya stood beside her husband, holding his hand. She hadn't asked for revenge. She only wanted to be treated fairly. But in that moment, as justice unfolded in front of everyone, she felt seen, protected, and finally heard. By the next day, the story was everywhere, on social media, on news outlets, in business circles. The message was loud and clear. Power should never be used to hurt, but it must always be used to protect those who are hurt.